The invisible trap. What if I told you that you're not lacking discipline? You're being rewarded for staying stuck. Think about it. Every time you check your phone for no reason, every time you delay something important, every time you choose what feels easy instead of what actually matters, your brain gives you a small reward, a quick hit of relief, a moment of comfort. And that's exactly the problem, because your brain is not wired to build your future. It's wired to repeat whatever feels good now. So while you believe you're just taking a break, scrolling for a minute, avoiding pressure, you're actually training your mind to move further away from your goals. Not by accident, but by design. This isn't about laziness. This isn't about willpower. This is about a system inside you that has been quietly hijacked. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. The real problem, a system that works too well. You were taught to believe that success depends on discipline, that if you just try harder, focus more, push yourself, everything will fall into place. But that belief hides a deeper truth. Your brain is already doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's repeating behaviors that bring immediate rewards and avoiding anything that creates discomfort. That means every time you choose something easy, your brain learns fast. It locks it in. It strengthens that pathway. Now here's where it gets dangerous. The modern world is filled with perfectly engineered rewards, endless scrolling, instant entertainment, constant notifications. It's like training a dog, but giving it a treat at the wrong moment. Not when it behaves well, but when it does the exact opposite. Over time, the system doesn't break. It adapts, and it starts guiding you away from effort, away from focus, away from long-term goals, without you even noticing. So the question isn't why you get distracted. The real question is, what have you been rewarding without realizing it? The mirror moment, seeing yourself clearly. You don't need theory to understand this. You just need to look at your own patterns. Have you ever picked up your phone without even thinking about it? Opened an app, scrolled for a while, then suddenly realized you don't even remember why you unlocked it? Or that moment when you tell yourself you're going to focus, you sit down to work. And within minutes, something pulls your attention away. A notification, a random thought, a small urge you decide to follow. It feels harmless, almost automatic. But here's what most people miss. These are not isolated moments. They are repetitions. And every repetition is a vote your brain counts. A vote for distraction. A vote for ease. A vote for avoiding what actually moves your life forward. And the more those votes accumulate, the more your mind starts to believe that this is who you are. Not someone who lacks discipline, but someone trained, step by step, to escape effort. Now that you can see it, something changes. Because you can't change what you refuse to recognize. And you just recognized more than most people ever do. The hidden game. What's really controlling you? At this point, it might seem like the problem is your habits. But habits are just the surface. What's really controlling your behavior is the pattern underneath them. A silent rule your brain follows without asking for your permission. Seek what feels good now. Avoid what feels uncomfortable. That's the game. And the problem is not that this rule exists. The problem is how it's being fed every single day. Because when comfort becomes your default reward, effort starts to feel like a threat. Focus feels heavy. Progress feels slow. And anything that requires patience gets quietly rejected. Not consciously. Automatically. This is why you can want something deeply and still move in the opposite direction. It's not a contradiction. It's conditioning. And once you understand that you're not just dealing with habits, but with a system that prioritizes immediate relief over long-term growth, you stop asking the wrong question. You stop asking, why can't I focus? And you start asking something far more powerful. What exactly has my brain learned to chase? Because that answer leads directly to the 6 habits that are silently pulling you away from your goals. Category 1. Instant rewards disguised as relief. The first pattern is the most seductive one. It doesn't look harmful. It feels like relief. Habit 1. Micro escapes that reset your focus. You sit down to do something that matters. It demands attention, effort, a bit of discomfort. Then, almost instantly, you feel the urge to escape for just a moment. You check your phone, open a tab, watch something quick. Tell yourself it's just a short break, and it is short. But what your brain learns in that moment is not the duration. It's the sequence. Effort appears. Discomfort rises. Escape brings relief. That connection gets reinforced every single time. So the next time you try to focus, your brain doesn't prepare for the task. It prepares for the escape. And slowly, almost invisibly, your ability to stay present weakens. Not because you're incapable, but because you've trained your mind to associate focus with interruption. This is not rest. This is conditioning. And the more you repeat it, the harder it becomes to stay with anything long enough to make real progress. The next habit looks productive on the surface, but it's even more deceptive. Category 1. Instant rewards. Disguised as relief. Habit 2. Consuming. Instead of creating. There's a moment where you tell yourself you're being productive. You're watching videos, reading posts, learning something new. It feels useful. It feels like progress. But look closer. You're not building anything. You're not applying anything. You're just consuming. And consumption is easy. It gives you the sensation of movement without the friction of execution. Your brain gets rewarded with novelty, information, stimulation. So it marks it as valuable. The problem is subtle. The more you consume, the more your brain starts to prefer input over output. It begins to associate learning with watching, not doing, planning, not executing, and when it's time to actually create, to act, to face uncertainty, your mind resists. Because creation has no instant reward. It has doubt, effort, and delayed results. So you go back to what feels like progress, but isn't. And that's how you stay busy without ever moving forward. Now the next pattern is even more dangerous, because it convinces you that you're already on the right path. Category 2. False senses of progress. Habit 3. Planning to avoid starting. There's a version of you that feels productive without doing anything real. It's the one that organizes, researches, outlines, adjusts, refines. It looks like progress. It feels responsible. It gives you a sense of control. But here's the truth most people don't want to face. Planning becomes a trap the moment it replaces action. Because every time you plan, instead of starting, your brain still gets rewarded. It feels safe. It avoids uncertainty. It avoids the risk of failure. So it learns something dangerous, that thinking about doing is enough. Over time, you become excellent at preparing and terrible at executing. You stay in a loop where everything is almost ready, but nothing is actually happening. And the worst part is that you don't feel stuck. You feel busy. You feel like you're getting closer. But in reality, you're standing still. And the next habit makes this illusion even stronger, because it tricks you into believing that small actions equal real progress. Category 2. False senses of progress. Habit 4. Completing what feels easy, instead of what matters. There's a quiet satisfaction in checking things off a list, replying to messages, organizing files, fixing small details, finishing quick tasks. It feels productive. It gives you closure. It gives you a sense of movement. But here's what's really happening. You're choosing completion over importance. Your brain prefers tasks that end quickly because they deliver immediate reward. A clear finish, a small win, a sense of control. So it starts prioritizing what's easy to complete, not what actually moves your life forward. And the tasks that truly matter, the ones that require deep focus, uncertainty, time, they get postponed. Not because you're avoiding them on purpose, but because your system is being trained to chase quick wins instead of meaningful progress. This creates a dangerous illusion. You end the day feeling productive, but the things that would change your trajectory remain untouched. And that's how people stay active, busy, engaged, and still feel like nothing is really changing. The next pattern goes deeper, because now it's not about productivity anymore. It's about emotion. Category 3. Automatic emotional relief. Habit 5. Seeking validation. Instead of taking action. There's a version of productivity that never produces anything. It looks like sharing your plans, talking about your goals, asking for opinions before you start. It feels responsible, collaborative, smart. But look at what's actually happening. You're getting the reward before doing the work. When you tell someone about your goal, your brain experiences a small version of achievement, a sense of progress, a sense of identity. And here's the trap. That feeling is real, but nothing has been done. So your mind registers the reward without registering the effort, without building the habit, without moving anything forward. And because the reward already came, the urgency disappears. The drive that should push you to act gets absorbed by the act of talking about acting. This is not motivation. This is substitution. And it becomes a loop. You share. You feel seen. You feel capable. Then the moment passes, and nothing changes, until the next time you have something to share. The most dangerous part of this habit is how invisible it is. It looks like connection, like accountability, like transparency. But underneath, it's your brain finding the shortest path to feeling like you're already the person you're trying to become, without doing what that person does. And the longer you stay in that loop, the more your identity gets built on what you say, instead of what you do. The next habit is even more subtle, because it doesn't happen in conversation. It happens entirely inside your own mind. Habit 6. Justifying the pattern. Instead of questioning it. There's one habit that keeps all the others alive. Not something you do, but something you tell yourself. I'll start later. I needed that break. I work better under pressure. Tomorrow I'll do it right. These sound harmless, logical even, but they serve one purpose: to protect the pattern. Because the moment you justify a behavior, your brain stops questioning it. It stops looking for change. And if there's no friction, there's no reason to improve. So the cycle repeats. Distraction happens. Relief comes. A justification follows. And everything resets. No guilt strong enough to change you. No awareness deep enough to interrupt it. Just a smooth, comfortable loop that slowly pulls you away from what you actually want. This is the most dangerous part. Not the distraction itself, but the story that allows it to continue. And once you see that, everything starts to shift. Because now you're not just noticing what you do. You're noticing why you allow it. And that realization leads to a turning point most people never reach. The shift. You repeat what you reward. There's a principle that quietly shapes everything you do. You don't repeat what is important. You repeat what is rewarded. Your brain is not measuring the value of your goals. It's tracking what gives you immediate feedback, immediate relief, immediate satisfaction. That's why you can care deeply about something and still avoid it. Because importance lives in the future. Reward lives in the present. And the present always wins. So every time you choose a quick distraction, every time you escape discomfort, every time you prioritize what's easy, your brain registers it as the correct behavior. Not logically, biologically, it reinforces the pattern. This is the moment most people misunderstand. They try to fight their behavior with willpower, without changing what gets rewarded. But if the reward stays the same, the behavior will return. Always. So the real shift is not forcing yourself to act differently. It's understanding that if you want different results, you have to change what your brain learns to value. And once you see that clearly, a different kind of control becomes possible. Not control through effort, but through design. Reprogramming. Change the game, not your willpower. If your behavior follows reward, then the solution is not to eliminate pleasure. It's to redesign it. Trying to rely on discipline alone is like swimming against a current that never stops. You might resist for a while, but eventually you get pulled back. So instead of fighting the system, you start working with it. You make progress visible. You create small, immediate signals that tell your brain, this matters. A task completed, a step taken, a clear mark of movement. Something your mind can register as a win. You reduce the friction of what matters. You make it easier to start than to avoid. Fewer decisions, fewer barriers, less resistance between you and action. And just as important, you increase the friction of distraction. You make it slightly harder to access, slightly less automatic, just enough to interrupt the pattern. This is not about becoming more disciplined. It's about becoming intentional with what your brain learns to chase. Because when the reward shifts, the behavior follows. And when the behavior changes, your identity starts to catch up. What once felt difficult becomes natural, and that leads to one final realization that changes everything. Final reflection. The life on the other side of your rewards. Look at your days with honesty. Not at what you say you want, but at what you repeatedly reward. Because that is the direction your life is actually moving. Every small choice, every moment of relief, every quick distraction. They are not random. They are signals. They are shaping who you become, one repetition at a time. And the truth is simple, but uncomfortable. Your future is not built by intensity. It's built by consistency in what you reinforce. So if the wrong things keep getting rewarded, the wrong life keeps getting built. But the moment you start changing that, even in small ways, something shifts. You begin to reclaim control, not by forcing yourself to be someone else, but by training your mind to support the person you're trying to become. Because the life you want is not far away. It's just hidden behind the rewards you choose today. Awareness is the first move. If this made you see your own patterns differently, then something important just happened. Because most people never question what's quietly controlling them. They stay busy, distracted, comfortable, and nothing changes. But now you see the mechanism. So here's something simple. Pay attention to what you reward today. Not perfectly, just consciously. Because the moment you start noticing, you interrupt the pattern. And once you interrupt it, you can begin to change it. If you want more insights like this, stay close. Not for motivation, for clarity.